Okay, so this is covering episodes 2 and 3 of season 3 of The Mandalorian. Episode 2 is The Mines of Mandalore. Episode 3 is The Convert. And I will be giving my overall thoughts here in this first section, and then we're going to get into a big spoiler section, and there'll be breakpoints in between, so if you really want to avoid the big spoilers, that is where that will be happening, okay? Okay, so my overall thoughts on episodes 2 and 3 of The Mandalorian, I'm going to give this a grade of a B. I think there's some decent action sequences in this. I think there's some intriguing plot ideas that are being executed. Unfortunately, this is derailed by the giant subplot that eats up most of episode 3. I feel like this would have been better if it were interspersed as a subplot throughout the first 3 episodes, rather than, say, one gigantic chunk, which is what it turned out to be. I'll get into it more in the spoiler section, so again, just know that unfortunately the pacing kind of ground to a halt here, and it was a major detriment, which is why I could not give this full A. I had to give it a B.
Now, it's here. The excitement, the adventure of a new force at breakfast.
We'll call them C-3POs.
New C-3PO cereal from Kellogg's. Twin rings, phased together. For 2 crunches in every double O. A delicious part of this nutritious breakfast. Now you can experience the taste of Kellogg's C-3POs. A crunchy new force at breakfast.
May the Force be with you.
It's Star Wars radio-controlled R2-D2. 2 9-volt and 2 C alkaline batteries not included. You can make R2-D2 move, beep, and flash his light by wireless radio control.
Hey, let me try.
You can make R2 move forward,
Look out, Dad!
backward, turn, and beep.
Hurry, turn, Dad!
Radio-controlled R2-D2 from the Star Wars collection by Kenner.
Okay, again, this is the spoiler section, so skip to this point if you wish to avoid. Also, if you are choosing to listen all the way through, you might hear my phone go off during this. I am recording this during the beginning of the NCAA tournament, which means that, again, there'll be notifications going off. Hopefully, it won't be huge and it won't interrupt too much, but, again, be forewarned. Alright, okay, spoilers ahead. Anyway, yeah, episode 2, The Mines of Mandalore. This one's pretty straightforward and basic. There's some weird plot threads, I guess, that kind of get cut off. First and foremost, Mando Din Djarin goes to Tatooine to visit Pelimoto, see if she has the missing part for IG-11. Or, I gotta look this up again, I'm sorry. IG-11, sorry. I was right the first time. Anyway, IG-11, and she doesn't have it, but she's able to foist this R5-D4 unit off on him to use that instead to investigate Mandalore. So, yeah, I guess they couldn't get Taika Waititi back for the full thing. Anyway, and, you know, they proceed to, Mando and Grogu proceed to go to Mandalore. They send R5 out as a scout unit, and he's doing some tests to see if the atmosphere is breathable, if the planet is truly toxic, or it's just kind of decimated. And everything turns out okay, but unfortunately they're not able. Unfortunately, R5 disappears, and they need to go out to try to find him and make sure everything is completely okay. It turns out that R5 was attacked by a group of beings called, I believe, right here, it's the, pardon my handwriting, Alanites, Autolites, and they're these, monsters that used to live in the wastelands of Mandalore, who have kind of now taken over the planet, that the Mandalorians aren't there anymore. And, Mando fights them off, and he says, well, we still need to locate the mines. And unfortunately, there's like a signal jam around the planet because you can't communicate from the planet to the cosmos, basically. So they're kind of out there on their own, and they're burying themselves. They burrow deep into their. They follow Bo-Katan's directions to the main citadel in the middle of the city, and they're entering that part, and then suddenly Mando gets caught by this large robot that actually has like it's piloted by a smaller robot which has like its own eyeball in it. He's taken hostage. Grogu tries to use the Force to free him, but Mando says, no, go get Bo-Katan, get her here. She can, that's the type of help we need right now. You might just get hurt doing this. And so Grogu does, and this is where you get the scene where Grogu is throwing one of the acolytes through the cave door that was in the trailers. And he goes and gets Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan is a little reticent until she realizes it was just Grogu, and it's like, okay. So she comes, she grabs the Darksaber and uses that to defeat the giant robot, and then when it moves into another body, the pilot basically detaches and moves onto another body, and it gets defeated again. And then from there, they go into where the waters of the mines are located. Mando recites the oath. He enters, and he hits a hidden depth and falls in, and Bo-Katan has to dive in after him, pulling him up, and she spots a creature called the Mythosaur. Basically, this is a Mandalorian legend, where the first Mandalore, the first Mandalorian warrior, obviously, fought this beast in these mines and killed it, and these waters are said to have healing properties, though Bo-Katan tends to think of it as just kind of a religious mumbo-jumbo. She sees it, and that's kind of how the episode ends. And, she's pulling him out, so they do survive, which leads into the next episode. Like I said, overall, the second episode, again, pretty well paced, outside of that weird plot thread with IG-11. Other than that, it's pretty fun. I think R5 actually, if you don't know, R5-D4 is the astromech droid that the Skywalkers initially buy in A New Hope, Star Wars, whatever you want to call it. And then it blows up, so they have to take R2 instead. It's the one with the bad motivator. So yeah, we get a redemption. Whether or not this is that R5, I'm not entirely sure, but it is an R5. So yeah, you got that little funny bit on it. So nice little bit of continuity there. Like I said, overall, this was a good, straightforward episode. It didn't really grind too much. There's a little bit where they're sort of wandering around where it's a little dull, but other than that, I think it went perfectly fine. That, in turn, leads us into the third episode, which is The Convert. So, basically, I'll tell you what happens with Mando and Bo-Katan. Like I said, Bo-Katan pulls Mando to safety. He's kind of unconscious a little bit, but he manages to revive. And Bo-Katan asks, hey, did you see anything down there? He said, no. I said, well, you bathed in the waters, you're redeemed. And he's like, yeah, he manages to get a vial to test so he has proof that he actually had bathed in the waters of Mandalore. And he said, I guess you're redeemed too. And I was like, yeah, but I'm not really one of your tribes, so we can basically go our separate ways. And so they're going back to Bo-Katan's home, and they get attacked by TIE fighters who they think are like remnants of an Imperial warlord. However, there's a whole bunch of, they take down 4 of them, but then there's a whole bunch of them, and this was done as a distraction to destroy Bo-Katan's home. So something's going on. And he basically has to bring her back to the Mandalorian commune refuge that he had visited in the first episode. And, once they prove that they did indeed bathe in the waters of Mandalore, they are redeemed and accepted. And Bo-Katan is allowed to stay with them, though she doesn't really, she's allowed to leave whenever she wants, but, she is not to remove her mask while she's there, basically. And so, yeah, that's basically where that ends for that. And, unfortunately, that's kind of the interesting part of the episode, because we then dovetail into the subplot I've talked about, which was grinding everything to a halt. Basically, this follows Dr. Pershing. He was the geneticist who was trying to clone Grogu and was probably working on something related to Snoke. Definitely a maybe, well, who knows. And then he got taken hostage when they, it was back in season 2. that big like Imperial stronghold that was on Carl Weathers' planet. I can't think of what it's called now. Yeah, so so he basically has entered this program that's offered amnesty to former Imperial officers. Basically, it's like, look, I understand you were doing your job, you were following orders, we're willing to forgive that, but you've got to play ball and live by the New Republic rules. And that basically includes giving up your name, you're assigned a letter and a number rank, and you have to basically abandon everything that you were doing and, do a menial job. And, he seems to be okay with it. He meets up with his fellow Amnesty people, one of whom is someone he actually served with Moff Gideon. She is D68, or Elena Kane, or Elena Kane, I think. Elia Kane, that's it, Elia Kane. And they slowly actually start hitting things off. It turns out she had trained on Coruscant, so she knows the area. Yeah, this is on Coruscant, by the way. Yeah, so she knows the area. They seem to be hitting things off, and he kind of makes a quiet lamentation. What he had been working on, first and foremost, was the idea of cloning for sake of organ transplant. So you could, if someone had, a bad kidney or liver or something and they needed a transplant, well, we could clone it and then genetically engineer it so it doesn't have the problems that were, causing it to be harmed to begin with. And they're like, okay, that, okay, makes a lot of sense. But still, it got warped, and now the Republic basically won't let him pursue that research at all. So she kind of suggests, hey, why don't you just do it in, covertly? Why not just do it on your own time and not tell anyone? And it's sort of hinted early on that she's sort of a black market person because she's able to get him these ration biscuits that he liked back when he served. So there's kind of this, yeah, okay, and you see they're definitely like kind of hitting things off. And she eventually comes in, and after, again, getting another kind of rejection on this, and discovering that there were several viable pieces of Imperial technology that were basically getting destroyed because, the New Republic doesn't want anything to do with the Empire. The New Republic is kind of like the, upper class bourgeoisie, very aristocratic, like not like ruling class, but like very just, hey, we don't really want to ruffle feathers. Like, we didn't even know we were under Imperial rule. that sort of thing. Like, there's one person who was just, oh yes, that's right, we're not in the Empire anymore, are we? I'm sorry, everything changes so fast, I barely keep attending. Yeah. So yeah, those types of people. And, it kind of goes, like, okay, he comes to her and he says, okay, I'm willing to do this, but I need this type of equipment. And it's like, I can get it for you, but basically what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go to a decommissioned Star Destroyer and basically strip it for the equipment, and then we can set up this, we can set up this secret lab for you. That being said, this kind of runs into the problem because they're not, they're basically like on probation, so they're given like, instead of ankle bracelets, but, badges, and you're not supposed to leave your quarters and go outside this area. You're only allowed to go to certain parts of the city, you're not allowed to go anywhere else. And, they obviously have to break that, and they go undercover, they get to they start stealing the equipment, and, Elia Kane basically starts letting on something going on, like she, sort of apologizes because they didn't really talk much, when, they were serving together, they were in different, departments, and he's like, oh, that's okay. She's kind of like slowing things down a little bit, like, you need this, like, okay, get what you can, because the rest of it's going to be destroyed really soon. And, he's getting it, and she's slowing him down, and you kind of realize, like, okay, what's going on here? They get caught, and it turns out she was an undercover amnesty agent working with the department to flush out any people who have been resisting things. And if you basically fail at this amnesty program, you are mind wiped to complacency, basically. Again, kind of proof that the New Republic maybe wasn't as grand as everyone thought it was, if you've seen the sequel trilogy. And, however, it seems that, again, she's maybe a double agent because when they're alone, she cranks up the mind-wiping machine to basically kill Pershing. And yeah, that's how that plot thread ends. Like I said, it's not a bad plot thread. It's just, again, you dedicated almost an entire hour-long episode to this. Like, I think this would have worked much better if it had just been, again, one of the better things Andor did, I think, was intersperse some of those subplots out a little bit, and so you saw them develop, rather than, again, dedicate, this is almost akin to that episode of Andor where nothing really happened. There's just, like, way too much padding. So, yeah, that was my main problem with it. It just kind of made everything sort of grind to a halt. Also, I didn't have any pictures for that part of the episode at all. I only had the Mandalorian parts, for lack of a better term. So that's why you got these weird pictures I've been taking. I'll get to it in the other part, but yeah, Magic Eraser. So, yeah, anyway, yeah, those are my thoughts on those two episodes. We'll wrap things up after this break.
New Star Wars radio-controlled Jawa Sandcrawler.
Let's find some droids.
2 9-volt and 2 D batteries not included.
The Jawa's got the Death Star droid.
Action figures sold separately.
Up the elevator. He's in.
By radio control, you can make the Sandcrawler travel almost any direction by going forward, backward, then forward again.
Now we'll find more droids.
Star Wars radio-controlled Jawa Sandcrawler. Action figures each sold separately. New from Kenner. It's the new Star Wars Land Speeder.
Wow, looks like it's floating. The Sand People are coming. It's up to Luke Skywalker and his land speeder to get us out.
Action figures each sold separately. The Land Speeder has a snap-open space hatch, and Star Wars action figures R2-D2 and C-3PO fit right in back.
Hurry, they're fancy. Activate spring glide wheels. The Force goes with us. Yeah.
Kenner's new Star Wars Land Speeder. Action figures each sold separately.
Okay, so the next video is going to be the review of Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I could only get to a Friday screening, so and it's been kind of hectic around here, so that's kind of why things have been a little weird. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, if you remember way back in my Super Bowl video, I talked about wanting to do something with WWE 2K23 when it came out, but that's this week. I just don't know if I'm going to get around to actually buying it just yet. Might have to wait at least a couple of days, see how that shakes out. Yeah, I know the Super Choco Fudgy edition's already out yet, but I can't find them anywhere. So hopefully the standard edition will be available. But also, yes, I am fully aware that they just announced that Willow has been canceled and will not be getting a season 2. So yeah, it made that whole ending really seem lackluster now, doesn't it? Anyway, back to the show. Anyway, yeah, basically, I get a little personal bit here. My phone pretty much bit the dust. So I had to go out and get a new, we had to get a new one there. And that took a big chunk of Tuesday. So I'm still in the middle of reading Spy Boy Volume 3. There's not much left in it, but I got to get around to doing that so I can prepare for that random trade review. After that episode of the random trade review, obviously there's going to be, that will be, well, that's not going to be the next video. After that, it's Impact Wrestling Sacrifice, then the random trade review. Then there'll be the next 2 episodes of The Mandalorian again. That'll be episodes 4 and 5. And then we're going to do the last 3 episodes after that again, as I said before. And so, yeah, I'm trying to think of, after the next episode of the Random Trade Review, there's going to be a 3-week break in between Random Trade Review episodes, because then it'll be the week of WrestleMania, and I want to, devote time to that. So, not quite an off week in the strictest sense of the term, but I think you get the idea. See you all next time. Hey guys, remember you can request a movie or a television series for me to review at my Patreon at patreon.com/sleepytime for Cat Productions. Also, remember to like the video, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so that you can be alerted to further videos.